This is the Hub on Hollywood. I'm James.
I'm Jamie. And we
we
love
love
movies, both American and not American, which is what we're going to be talking about a little bit today. James, I watched this incredible movie out of China. It is the most expensive movie ever made in China. It's called The Battle of Lake Changjin. And I have so many words for it. It was so incredible in really different ways. We'll get to that, though. We'll get to that. What else are we talking about, James?
So one of the most expensive movies ever made going up against one of the most expensive brands, fashion brands out there, House of Gucci. We got a sneak peek look at House of Gucci, starring Lady Gaga, your man, Adam Driver, as well.
My man, my BFF.
It's coming out to theaters right before Thanksgiving, but I knew nothing of the Gucci family. Now I want to learn everything about the Gucci family. Very interesting story, very interesting movie. We will have reviews of both of those, as well as local casting calls, local filming in and around New England, as well as what movies deserve or deserved a sequel. We're going to be going down our favorite movies, TV shows that deserve an extra length, an extra movie, an extra production to further the story. And hopefully, maybe you have some ideas of which movies deserved a sequel. But thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Be sure to comment down below. If you are listening to us on any of the major podcasting streaming services, thank you very much. You can listen to us on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. And you can also follow us on all the social medias, Instagram, Twitter, @HubOnHollywood, also on Facebook. But
That's right.
Jamie, I had to go into the House of Gucci because, really quick, were you familiar with the backstory? Because I went in
I
not knowing
did.
anything.
I was. Well, the only thing I knew was that Gucci was killed. That I didn't know that it was his wife until I started learning a little bit more about the movie. I'm like, oh my God, but that's all I knew. All I knew was the wife.
Yeah, so I was hesitant to say what happened to him because I didn't really know the story. And I think, it is a fair point. It is a historical event of what happened to Mauricio Gucci, the son of the founder of Gucci, the fashion brand. But this one, it answers the question about what happened, what led up to that event, and the rise and fall of this family. But House of Gucci, directed by Ridley Scott, starring Lady Gaga, Adam Driver, Al Pacino, Jeremy Irons, Jared Leto, and Salma Hayek. I didn't realize she was in it, but Salma Hayek is in it as well. And basically, this follows the story of Patricia, an outsider from humble beginnings. She marries into the Gucci family. However, her unbridled ambition begins to unravel their legacy and triggers a reckless spiral of betrayal, decadence, revenge, and even murder. And let me just start by saying great acting all around. Lady Gaga and Adam Driver, everybody in this movie. I don't have the best ear, but for me, I think they sounded very Italian, if that makes sense. I feel like they got the accent down. And and the cast and the acting all around was great. But do we want to give away some details of the actual history? Because this is basically following Patricia. She's trying to rise up in the ranks of society by marrying somebody who is well off, who's famous, and who has a lot of money. And there's a lot of tension that creates between Mauricio Gucci's father, played by Jeremy Irons, which is who is fantastic in this movie. Al Pacino, he plays Adam Driver's uncle, Aldo Gucci. And the person who steals the show is actually Jared Leto. He's like a scene stealer throughout this whole movie, and pretty unrecognizable. He plays the cousin of Adam Driver's character. But yeah, I guess the part where, again, I don't want, again, for the people who don't know the story of Gucci, it is good to go in not doing the research, because I feel like there are some twists and turns that for somebody who's not familiar with the story, that I think they'll enjoy the ride. So I don't know. Overall, I think House of Gucci is a really fun film. A lot of funny moments, a lot of dramatic moments as well. Lady Gaga, of course, she's already proven herself as a very good actress with A Star Is Born and various other projects she's been in as well. But House of Gucci, have you had any interest in seeing this movie?
Absolutely. Well, I'm a big Adam fan. So how did Adam do? Adam Driver. Does he carry it?
Adam was great. I think he carried it very well. And like I said, after watching the movie, I want to learn more about the Gucci family. And I started watching YouTube interviews where Mauricio Gucci, when of course he was still alive, he was doing interviews. And I was recognizing the things that he was doing that Adam Driver was like replicating or kind of portraying. And so I thought he did a very good job portraying the human Mauricio Gucci. So I think he did his homework because there are many parts during this interview I thought that looks just like Adam Driver, but of course it's vice versa because Adam Driver picked up on his mannerisms. And so I thought Adam did a fantastic job. It's shot beautifully. Like it takes place in Italy, takes place in other neighboring countries around there. It takes place through the 70s, through the 90s. So you do have different fashion wardrobes, but nothing too like some 80s movies can overdo it with like the 80s look where it looks like you're just in a movie. This one it doesn't feel like that. It feels very lived in, and so the wardrobe was great. The cinematography, the filming was beautiful. The locations were beautiful, and I don't know, the whole acting was great. Ridley Scott, I actually didn't realize he was directing it until the very end.
So is there a lot of tension? Is there, you don't know what's going to happen until it happens? Or is it more kind of like, oh my gosh, this is going to happen, it's a slow motion train wreck, oh no?
Well, in the very beginning of the opening scene, you see something get set up and you don't realize what it is until the very end of the movie. So there is a little bit of foreshadowing, but you really don't know what it is. You do see a build-up when you see the tension grow between Lady Gaga and Adam Driver's characters. So you do see that tension build up because Lady Gaga, who plays Patricia, she is very power hungry and she keeps trying to pull the strings of other Gucci family members from behind the curtain. And so there are times where she's escalating things where she wants to take more control of the Gucci business, where initially Mauricio kind of wants to take a step back and doesn't really want to associate with the Gucci family or with the lavish lifestyle that he's grown up in, and he wants to turn that all away for Lady Gaga, her character. But Patricia, again, like I said, she is power and money hungry, and she keeps trying her best to just keep inching up and trying to take what doesn't belong to her from other family members, like, distant family members. And so, this story, it really is a story about betrayal, revenge, lavish lifestyles, decadence. But if you like fashion, or if you just like Adam Driver and Lady Gaga, their chemistry is great. So I do recommend House of Gucci.
Awesome. Well, you know what? Lady Gaga is a fashion icon in and of herself.
Right.
And just watching her on the red carpet and all of the events for this film has been wonderful and kind of hilarious because you've got straight-laced Adam Driver in his black suits and her in just her outlandish and gigantic outfits and crazy dresses. And it feels right, I guess, for this movie. So I'm enjoying that just as much as I'm sure that I will enjoy the film. So House of Gucci. James recommends it. I can't wait to watch it. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of House of Gucci? It's coming out. When is it coming out, James?
November 24th. So right before Thanksgiving.
Wonderful. So are you guys going to go watch it? How much do you love Adam? Just tell me. Just tell me how much you love Adam and Lady Gaga in this. But speaking of movies you can get behind, James, everybody can get behind a good war movie, right?
Right, yeah. Go USA.
Oh, except that this war movie that's almost made $1 billion. It's almost grossed $1 billion worldwide. Is a Chinese war movie. Okay,
and I haven't heard anything of it.
You haven't heard anything of it. Well, it is playing in theaters right now, and my husband and I we had a night out. and we were looking for what to watch, and we're like, everything just kind of feels like stuff that we've seen before, and we saw this film playing. We're like, hey, this is like really different. Let's get this perspective. So it's called The Battle of Lake Changjin. It's set in 1950, and it's about the battle in the Korean War that changed the course of the Korean War, and was a defeat of American forces. It was one of the worst disasters in American Marine history. So China loves it. And this film, it's a cool action movie. It's got amazing battle sequences and set pieces that are really like on par with Hollywood. However, it is really historically dubious. Okay, this is not. If you want historical accuracy, this film is not that. It's a hyper patriotic Chinese film, and so I feel like we're kind of used to seeing really patriotic American war movies. So it was really weird and really interesting to watch this essentially communist China propaganda film about this battle. And it is a state-sponsored film. It is the most expensive film ever made in China at about $200 million, James. So, and I could definitely see where that money went to. We've got tremendous explosions and battle scenes and, and stunts and effects that, like I said, really on par with Hollywood. But then there are other parts. The film follows this battalion of soldiers who are, love of country dictates everything that they do. And I feel they do a really good job, like American movies, of humanizing the soldiers, giving them a backstory, kind of showing personal growth. But all of that growth is in line with this one, patriotic ideal. There's no nuance there. There's no questioning of motives. There is exactly. Exactly. And so the movie begins with Americans like bombing villagers and killing innocent civilians, and this over-the-top melodramatic like General MacArthur coming in and saying the war will be won. It'll be over in a matter of weeks. We'll all be home by Christmas. And it was like, he's just really aggressive and over-the-top melodramatic. There are a lot of American soldiers that are killed in this film, so just be wary of that. If that bothers you, don't go see this film. It's a little bit of an American snuff film. But I don't feel like they really showed Americans in a terrible light. Like, I think the generals, the American generals, were more of the villains of the film than the soldiers. The soldiers were kind of shown as like happy-go-lucky, really interesting and fun people that just didn't want to be there.
Right.
And it was also really funny because they had all of these Western-looking actors that were playing Americans that were definitely not American, definitely did not speak English, either had terrible accents or were obviously dubbed over. My husband and I think that maybe they were Russian actors. But it's just so funny. It's like, you'll see the scene and it's like, what are you talking about? We cannot let them win. Like, it was just poorly dubbed.
What, are they speaking Mandarin the entire time and then there's like text, or it's English?
So all of the parts with the Chinese soldiers are in Mandarin with English subtitles. And then all of the parts with the Americans are in English, but just poorly done. Like right. All of the accents are like all over the place. Is like they don't sound really American, or it's just poorly dubbed over like Russian actors, and it's just really silly dialogue. Like shut up, Sully. They're gonna cook our turkey. Like something like like that. It's just so silly. And that was part of the film that my husband and I were trying really hard not to laugh at. Because we were the only white people in the movie theater, and it was like a theater full of Chinese Americans, presumably, or Chinese folks that came to watch the movie. So I wasn't we were just trying to be respectful. But if you just watched this movie, there are parts of it that, you know, would be satirical. If this was a film that was filmed in America, like just the blind patriotism and these super over the top melodramatic moments where they're staring into the camera, or patriotic music starts playing and everyone's just saluting, and like that would be satirical if it was made in America. But this film is like just straight serious about it. Like they're trying to be really serious about it. So that was just really interesting. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but it was just really weird. It was just a very interesting experience to see that kind of perspective in that kind of film.
Do you know anything in particular that was like historically dubious? Because I saw,
Sure.
a few headlines talking about how, it's very ambitious, but historically not exactly accurate.
Okay, yeah. So it's set in the 1950s, Korean War. Like I said, there is no questioning of the motives. There's absolutely no mention of why, you know, China wanted to help Korea get rid of America, other than we've got to protect the motherland and we're going to fight this fight so that our children don't have to fight in the future. They made it seem like America wanted to invade China. That was what they were that's what they were pushing. And then there was a part where like they portray American soldiers pushing towards the Yalu River, which I guess is the border there with China and Korea, and they made it seem like they were determined to cross into China and attack China, which is not historically accurate, not historically accurate, but they're pushing that, you know, they're pushing that message, that propaganda, that justification. They also portray Mao Zedong as this, you know, really thoughtful, kind, grandfatherly-like guy who's just, you know, walking in his peaceful little courtyard, and he doesn't want to hurt anybody, but we've got to fight this fight, you know. And anybody who knows anything about Mao knows that, you know, he killed millions and millions of people, and they portray these soldiers as wanting to fight until the war is done and, you know, following orders blindly without any question. And in an American movie, the soldiers get to go home and they have a happy ending, and it's all about, you know, your family back at home. In this movie, everyone, spoiler alert, all the soldiers don't make it back. They don't make it back. They fight to the last man, and that's supposed to be like the ideal, when, you know, and they fight because of their patriotism, when in, you know, reality, they weren't allowed to go home. They fought because China sent millions and millions of soldiers to make sure that they didn't want a Western friendly country on its border. So that, you know, there's no mention of that motive whatsoever. So that's why I say it's historically dubious. And it's just really interesting, that cultural difference where the ideal for the soldier there is to die for the motherland, where in America it's to go and fight and come home and be with your family and not die. You know what I mean? So if you can get past all of the propaganda, there is a well-made war movie here, okay? So like I said, incredible stunts, incredible pyrotechnics, incredible set pieces, very violent, bloody battles, like really intimate, like one-on-one fighting, and then explosions, and really cool camera angles that you might not have seen in other war movies. Like, I thought they did a really great job with like chasing these guys onto a train and then off of a train, and then there's an explosion. Or, you know, there's a battle in a town and, you know, they're in the house fighting, you know, close combat, and then they're rolling out of the house and there's explosions here, and how they get the tanks. And it's a really, really, really well-made war movie. So, like I said, you just have to get past the the propaganda part. Like, there's one part, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. There's one part in the movie where the youngest soldier is kind of fighting, and he's like, I don't want to do this anymore because all the other soldiers are picking on him. And he opens up this door of a train, and he goes to jump out the train, and they see the Great Wall of China, and everyone's awestruck, and like he knows what he has to do now. He has to fight for his country. And like I said, there's just this over the top melodramatic like close-ups and zoom-ins that would otherwise be satirical but weren't. So I think it was a really really unique kind of a film. It was definitely gave me and my husband a lot to talk about afterwards while we were walking around Boston. And it's good to see things from other perspectives. It's good to see things from other countries' perspectives and learn where, certain things are coming from. So I thought I thought it was a great time. I wish we could have laughed more in the theater, but that's, we wanted to be as respectful as possible. So there you go, James. I don't know if you had any other questions about it, but that was the Battle of Lake Changjin, the second highest grossing Chinese movie ever made.
All right, well, let us know if that piques your interest. I'm not sure if I'll be rushing to the movie theater to go see that, but I'm definitely going to be watching a trailer after we're done with this to try to get an idea of what that film looks like. All right, great, but like I said, thank you so much for watching this episode. Not only do we bring you awesome reviews of weird, wacky movies, but also we bring you casting calls. And so I'll just start with the first one that we have for this week. Boston Casting, they're looking for Asian or Indian boys 14 to 16 years old for a feature film. This is shooting here in the Boston area this winter in 2022, the winter of 2022. Pays over $1,000 a day. So if you know anyone, if your child is a boy 14 to 16 years old, Asian or Indian, send a resume, headshot, all your information, send that to Boston Casting Submit 5, Boston Casting Submit, the number 5, at gmail.com.
All right, and Boston Casting is also in charge of the I Want to Dance with Somebody Whitney Houston biopic, which is filming in and around Boston right now. They have casting calls out every week, and normally they're very quick turnaround. So if that's something that you want to get in on, they're doing a few concert scenes and things like that where they're going to need lots of people. They've done a number of scenes already where they've had hundreds of extras. So this is a really good one to get in on. There's a high chance that you will get selected. So you are going to want to sign up with Boston Casting. Just go to their website, bostoncasting.com. And once you put in all your information, you will get those notifications when they need you, which is now. So go ahead and do that for I Want to Dance with Somebody.
All right. Slay Casting wants to dance with a family of 4. They are looking for a family of 4 for a non-union project. Families from the D.C. area, Maryland, Virginia. This pays $4,000 per family for a one-day shoot. They're asking for family photos, group photos, ages, where you live, where your location is. Send all that to Slate Real People Casting at gmail.com. Get the whole family involved. Again, looking for at least a family of 4. But if you're in D.C., Maryland, or Virginia, easy $4,000.
Wow. That's a good payday. Aren't we so great, James, that we let people know how they can get paid and how they can be in the movies. So you definitely want to follow us, not tooting my own horn or anything at all. You definitely want to follow us.
We deserve it.
Yeah. On YouTube, on anywhere podcasts are heard. We're an iHeart Radio affiliated podcast. And we, like James said, are on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. Come and find us, join the conversation. We want to get you in the movies. Speaking of movies, James, we talk about what we love, and there are some things that, they deserved better. They deserved more. So we have our list of movies and TV shows that should have had a sequel, and I'm going to let you kick that off.
Yeah, because let me say right off the bat, there are movies out there that that should never have deserved a sequel, either because
I
it was a
know.
bad movie that should not have been spun out to 6 more sequels, or the first movie was perfect and did not need any more additional garbage
So
added
many.
to it.
So
And
many of those.
So
Yeah.
many. But these movies are movies that have, or shows that have yet to be getting a second season or another season or a sequel. But my first movie, my first pick is Man From U.N.C.L.E. This is starring
Okay.
Henry Cavill, Superman, and also Armie Hammer. This takes place in the early 1960s, where a CIA agent and a Russian KGB operative, they have to team up, put aside their differences to fight this unknown criminal organization that is hell-bent on proliferating nuclear weapons around the world. And so Man From U.N.C.L.E., a great fun movie. If you are into the TV show, the cartoon Archer, this is like the closest thing to like a reality version of Archer. So yeah, Henry Cavill's amazing in this movie. Armie Hammer, he has a lot of controversy nowadays regarding his personal life and legal issues, but both of them are fantastic in this movie. Because of, like I said, issues with Armie Hammer, I doubt a sequel will be made, but man, that would have been a fun one to see a part 2
Okay. All right. Well, my first pick, James, is the 1999 comedy Dogma. I don't know if you ever saw Dogma.
Ah, yes.
Yes,
Jay and Silent Bob,
Smith.
Chris Rock.
Yes, Jay and Silent Bob, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck play two fallen angels. They're both local boys. Our boys, Matt and Ben. They play two fallen angels who were ejected from paradise and find themselves stuck in Wisconsin for all of eternity. And they begin a journey back to New Jersey after discovering a loophole that could get them back into heaven. But it would also undo all of existence. So the last scion, who is the last living descendant of Jesus Christ, gets pulled into it. This movie was really controversial, but really thoughtful. I really loved it. It's fun, it's stupid, but it's also like really deep and thoughtful and introspective. Chris Rock plays an archangel, I think. Alanis Morissette plays God.
Alan Rickman's in it too.
Alan Rickman, yes, who is the voice of God. Linda Florentino, who is the last scion. Bethany, who works at an abortion clinic. I felt like it was so clever and smart and funny that, it deserves a sequel. I'd like them to maybe tackle some other issues and get into some other mischief. But I really, really, really enjoyed that movie. And it's part of I don't know the name of the verse, but like the Kevin Smithiverse, all those movies are kind of like affiliated with each other. And there's some kind of like legal limbo where you can't even watch Dogma anywhere. You can't watch it on any streaming services. Like you can barely buy it. I think that the movie sells for a lot of money because it's really, really hard to get a hold of. But I want to see Dogma more readily available, and I'd like to see a sequel to Dogma that is, as equally thoughtful and well done.
All right, Kevin Smith. What are you waiting for?
Yeah.
Get on Dogma
Come on.
2, Part 2.
Get on it.
My second film, which deserved a sequel, or in this case, I would say a prequel, is Edge of Tomorrow, starring Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt. Edge of Tomorrow follows Tom Cruise, who is a soldier fighting in a war against aliens. He relives the same day over and over again, restarting every time he dies, which is like Groundhog Day meets Independence Day. But great film, starring, again, Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt. What I would want to see is the prequel, where, if you're not familiar with the story, Tom Cruise, after killing a certain special alien, has to relive his day after he is killed each time, and eventually, gradually tries to get the up and up and the upper hand on this alien warfare. But before he had those powers, Emily Blunt had the same powers, where she was reliving the entire day every time she died and had to try to figure out how to stop this and save mankind. But so I would love to see a sequel / prequel with Emily Blunt's version of events. So Edge of Tomorrow.
Cool.
If you haven't seen that, watch it now. It's so good. One of Tom Cruise's best films, I think.
Okay, all right. Hey, that's a hot take. Um, all right, so James, back in 2001-ish time, there was this incredible show called Dark Angel. Okay,
Yeah.
um, I loved it so much. About a girl named Max and a guy named Logan, and Max escaped from some kind of government facility where they were training children to be killing machines. Right? It sounds like a plot that's been done plenty of times before. But it was just so well done. And then Logan is the guy who, kind of helps her after she escapes, and then they go on missions. It's a post-apocalyptic world. It stars Jessica Alba and Michael Weatherly. And their chemistry together is just so good. And there was this romantic tension between them. And okay, so she's a super soldier. She was raised to be a super soldier. She's escaped. And they're trying to bring down the organization that is behind a lot of the corruption in this post-apocalyptic world, right? It had a wonderful first season, and then 9/11 happened. And so because this was about like a post-apocalyptic America, they really toned down the seriousness of it. Like, it became like a silly comedy. And there was this character that was like a dog man, and he got way much more time, screen time than he should have. And the whole like story that they had been building up, like, just got tampered down because, Americans really couldn't stomach that, that kind of darkness and post-apocalypticness, I guess, anymore at the time. They censored it down. And then it was canceled. And then it got canceled after season 2. So I want to see Dark Angel come back. I think enough time has passed. I want to see what it could have been. It was a great sci-fi show. It had great tension, great characters, great potential. Let's bring Dark Angel back, and let's do it justice, guys. Come on, for Max and Logan. Woo! I'm a nerd.
Yeah, right.
But that's that. What's your next one, James?
Anything with Jessica Alba, I'm all for reviving. My next film that needs a sequel, that deserved a sequel, and I would not argue this is a great movie, but it's a great premise that you could build a world around. Jumper from 2008, starring Hayden Christensen and Samuel L. Jackson. So you have two Jedis in another movie together.
Oh, yeah.
But it follows basically a teenager with teleportation abilities suddenly finds himself in the middle of an ancient war between those like him and those sworn to annihilate them, to exterminate them. And so it follows Hayden Christensen as a young man who, as a young child, again, learns that he has this teleportation ability after a traumatic experience. And for the past, 5 or 8 years or so after this traumatic incident in high school, he's been on the run. Nobody knows where he's been. And basically, he's just been breaking or teleporting into banks, teleporting into areas, getting cash so he can live and survive and create his own life away from his, his abusive family. And so he's brought back to his hometown after this incident involving these people that are trying to annihilate people with his abilities. And then he falls back. It gets back in touch with an old high school fling, an old high school crush, and then, things ensue. But I thought, though not a great movie, the premise, I would say it's a good movie. It's a solid, good movie, which could have been built upon much more, because the teleportation that was I don't know, created, or that how they portrayed it in this film was really fun, really interesting, and not really anything that we really saw, or at least I saw before as well. A lot of fun possibilities that you could do with teleporting not only yourself, but also things that you can grab and take with you. So Jumper, that deserved a sequel at the very least.
I'm still waiting for teleportation technology, James, so I can just
Come
bam,
on.
pop in and out wherever I need to go. I'm tired of driving, honestly. Like, there's a traffic
Yeah.
problem. Let's work on teleportation, people, okay? Scientists, can you hear me? Like, that, let's speed it up, okay? Okay, so the last movie I have that I would like to see a sequel to, James, Spaceballs! The 1987 Mel Brooks classic. Yes, I think there's been so much more Star Wars. This was, the best Star Wars kind of parody that exists out there. There's been so much more Star Wars since. I think there's so much more fodder for parody. And Mel Brooks is still here, folks. Mel Brooks is still alive. Let's pick his brain. I want to see Spaceballs 2, where we're making fun of Rey and Kylo Ren and all of and the search for more money. Yeah, exactly. Spaceballs 2, the search for more money. They've already teased it. So we need to make this happen before Mel Brooks dies. That's all I'm saying. So.
This has to happen. My last movie, really quick, is I, Robot, starring Will Smith and Alan Tudyk. The film, it takes place in 2035. A technophobic cop, played by Will Smith, investigates a crime that may have been perpetrated by a robot, which leads to a larger threat in humanity. If you have seen I, Robot, basically, again, this is an older movie, so you should have seen it by now. But a soft spoiler is that Will Smith and this robot, they befriend each other, and after finding out that, what this bigger nefarious plot to, to eventually have these robots, have more control over humans. Anyway, but I, Robot, I thought the universe that they built and the world they built with how humans and robots coexist with each other, and how they have developed this artificial intelligence and what that means for the future. So I thought that was a really good idea for exploring. Like, how does, after this big monumental events, this clash, how do humans and robots work hand in hand together now that one is like sentient and the other, humans, are aware that these things are very powerful and can switch, and if they do, terrible things can happen. So I thought that was a really good premise, and I think they should have made an iRobot Part 2. But let us know what movies and shows you think deserved a sequel, deserved another season, or a redeeming season. Let us know down below. Join the conversation. Comment down below. But yeah, thanks again for watching us. This was The Hub on Hollywood. I think that's all we got for this show.
Oh, yeah, that's more than enough. All right.
All right. Well, for this week's Hub on Hollywood, I'm James.
I'm Jamie. See you next time.
Bye.
Spaceballs 2!